What's up, guys? This is part two of the Wim Hof Breathing Method, the breathing method that is a awesome treatment for depression. Now, in the first video, I explained kind of what it does, how it works, but I wanted to go over some things that I didn't cover necessarily, and I will also take you through how to do this breathing method. I'll do one round with you so you don't have to search and find it online. You can kind of give it a try with me. So the first thing I wanted to say is don't focus on how well you're doing it per se, meaning you're taking 30 deep breaths. One, the videos will count with you. It's what I always do. I don't count myself. I let them count. Because I find if I'm counting, I'm worried about, okay, how fast am I doing this? Am I doing this too fast, too slow? That gets in the way of it, kind of. Wim himself says to go by the feeling and not the calculation. Also, when you're holding your breath, like I said with this, you're taking in a lot of air. So you do the 30 deep breaths, and on the last exhalation, you hold it. Now, for the holding period, or the retention time rather, the first round is the videos vary, but my very first time ever doing it without any training, I was only able to hold my breath for 40 seconds because whether you need it or not, to an extent, your brain is going to start to tell you like, hey, why aren't you breathing? We should breathe. So don't get discouraged by that. Don't be worried about, oh, I need to make 1 minute this first round or a minute and a half or whatever it is. Just do it. Go with the experience. See how it goes. Go as long as you can. Now, in just a little bit more background in my experience with this, the effects of it. As I've said, I've been through various treatments, techniques, whatever you want to call them, for mental health in terms of depression, anxiety, social anxiety specifically for me. And I also have experienced mania, which is the high end of bipolar disorder. I don't cycle like someone who, or your general case, I guess you would say, of bipolar disorder, but I have experienced that as well. So, just general stuff. I've been to, and I still am in talk therapy. I've been on medication. I'm still on some medications. I've read a lot of books, and not necessarily cover to cover. I'd gotten to a point in my life where I was really looking for, all right, one of these self-help books or psychology books or personal growth, whatever it was, something has the answer. I was constantly looking for that for many years. And what I would do is I got to the place where a lot of them, they weren't resonating, the techniques weren't working, or it sort of worked, but it wasn't great. So I made it my rule of thumb that I would read 100 pages, and if I didn't feel it was effective after that, or it wasn't what I was looking for, then I would stop. So many I didn't read cover to cover, but I've been through enough to where this isn't just, this one thing worked for me and I didn't try anything else. Like, this is some experience talking to you right here. So as I'd mentioned in the first one, the science behind some of this, just what I can explain. And in the first video, I have links in the description for a couple of scientific studies. And again, there's tons of information out there if you search Wim Hof. If you Google it, if you YouTube it, there's lots of stuff out there. But what I can say based on what I know. So taking in these very deep breaths, you're increasing your oxygen level. You're decreasing the level of carbon dioxide in your system. You're making the blood more alkaline as opposed to being acidic. The alkalinity of the blood is healthier, from what I understand at least. And I can say from a general standpoint, we all kind of know when your muscles are really sore, if you're really hurting, that's a buildup of lactic acid. That's an example of acidity. When you hold your breath, especially for these extended periods of time, obviously we need oxygen to survive. So the brain is being told, or I should say concludes perhaps, that like, oh my God, we're in danger, we're not breathing. So a controlled and a small amount, I don't know exactly how much, but adrenaline is secreted, and this is being done in the way Wim would say it, is it's done in a very controlled way, and he's correct. It's not as if you're going to do this and you're going to start feeling shaky like you would if you were in a situation where it was a normal dump of adrenaline, like if you're being, in some kind of situation where you're afraid of that, there's going to be a fight or you're going to be attacked or you're in a car accident, whatever. you don't get that shaky, freaked out feeling. It's happening inside, but you don't have this, you don't have these unpleasant feelings. But the controlled release of the adrenaline, it has healing properties. It affects your autonomic nervous system. Autonomic meaning that it was believed for years upon years that we had no direct influence over this. It was autonomous. It was outside of our control. And Wim's method shows that we can tap into that to an extent. That's a little bit more advanced, but that's a part of this. It taps into the endocrine system, which has to do with reproduction as well as hormones, and that can have an effect on, the biochemistry of the body, obviously, but also in terms of depression and whatnot, like hormonal balances, that sort of thing. And I feel like I'm neglecting one of the systems that your immune system. There have been studies done where people have done this breathing method. They were injected with an endotoxin. One specifically it was a strain of E. coli. Not E. coli in the sense of where it was so strong that it would kill the people, but if hypothetically this breathing technique hadn't worked, they would have been sick or very sick for at least 6 to 12 hours. However, Wim Hof himself was able to destroy the E. coli virus that was injected into him, or it might be bacteria, bacteria, whatever. He was able to destroy it through his breathing techniques, and also he trained, I believe it was 10 to 12 individuals over a relatively short period of time. I can't remember if it was, he did one session for 4 months, like one session a month, and then gave them homework. Either way, he trained people who had no experience with this to also be able to use his breathing technique to activate their immune system and in turn kill the E. coli. So clearly it has serious effects on your immune system as well. So getting past the scientist, I'm not a scientist by any means. So when you finish doing this, I tend to feel you feel a bit more relaxed. I feel like your thoughts are clearer. There's less brain chatter going on. And Wim refers to it as feeling charged. You feel kind of this almost tingling in the body, that's all the oxygen that's kind of coursing through your veins. But it's a good feeling. It's not a bad feeling. And then in doing this over time, what I noticed pretty quickly was that my anxiety level went way down. I've always been a somewhat anxious person, of course in certain situations, but like particularly driving, I was a very anxious driver. I was not a good driver in some ways for quite some time. And in starting this breathing method, I don't have that anxiety. It had gone down some over the years and just having experience in driving, being 33 now as opposed to, 16. But I can be on, the highway if there's a lot of traffic or if whatever's happening, if there's an accident, if there's bad conditions, and I feel much more calm. That's not to say that I don't, I'm just completely zen and I feel no stress whatsoever. But this method helps you to better deal with stress, I feel. I've said to a lot of people in my personal life who I advise to do this, that my anxiety level has never been lower in my adult life since having done this. Also, it decreases the depression. To me, it's, when I first did it, I wasn't depressed. When I started doing the 2 rounds, as I mentioned in the previous video, or 2 sessions, I should say, when I added the second session because I was feeling depressed, I felt the first time I did a second session, I was going into work. It was New Year's Day, so I didn't want to go. It was a very heavy load. I work at a dog daycare and boarding facility. So there were 55 dogs boarding. I knew I was going to be alone with them for 4 hours. So a bit of a challenge. And going in, I felt a bit more energized. First of all, I wasn't depressed like I had to drag myself. And I also felt more like, all right, I can do this. So I guess that's the most direct comparison I can make in terms of being depressed while doing it. And I'd say within a week of adding the second session, my symptoms improved dramatically. I don't feel depressed. I'm not depressed like that anymore in terms of feeling it on a daily basis. I'm human. Stressors come up. I won't lie. I have felt feelings of being sad or a depressed mood, but I haven't had that low of lows since adding the second session. So I very much believe in this stuff. It's worked for me personally, obviously. I know Wim Hof had said he's speaking to people in the psychiatric field, and they're trying to utilize this for people who experience anxiety, depression, I think even PTSD, things like that. I don't know that any of it's published yet, but it is, mostly you hear about this for the purely physical benefits in terms of improving your endurance, the way you breathe, physical ailments, things like that. But there's definitely a mental health side to it that is being addressed, but you don't really hear about that as much publicly. And, all right, well, that's about all that I wanted to cover. So I will take you guys through one round of this. Now, it's going to be 30 deep breaths, like I said, and you think about expanding your diaphragm, which is essentially like kind of puffing out your belly, your chest, and then think about sending the air into your brain. So one example would be you breathe in really deeply, then breathe out. You're doing a full inhalation in terms of you want to get as much air in as possible. And when you exhale, though, it's more just, Wim refers to it as letting go. He says fully in, letting go. Letting go meaning you're exhaling 50 to perhaps 75%. You're not trying to literally get all the air out of your lungs. If you were doing that, you'd literally be to the point of going like it sounds like you're puking, and we're not doing that. So, fully in, letting go. We'll do that 30 times. I'm going to have my computer set up here to guide us because I'm not going to sit here and count. 30 rounds of that. On the 30th one, on the 30th breath, when we release, we will hold our breath. I'll see how long I can do it. It depends. I'm kind of under pressure as I'm on camera here, so maybe I don't hold it that long. Maybe I do. We don't know. And I'm going to close my eyes. Yeah, I'm going to put myself on the line and feel a little self-conscious about that, but I think this stuff's important, and I understand how easy it is to just be like, he didn't say how to do it, so I'm not going to look for it. So I'm going to take you guys through this. So, very important as well. So after you do the 30 breaths, you do the final release, and you hold it. When you need to breathe again, you take one really deep breath, and then Wim says to imagine like squeezing your head because it's holding the oxygen in the brain, and you count 10, 15 seconds as far as that goes. So even if you can't hold it as long as I do, or you can hold it longer, whatever, you're going to see me when I need to breathe, take in one really deep breath, retain it, and I'll hold it for about, I usually go 15 to 20 personally, but he says 10 to 15. All right, so I don't know if you're actually going to hear the video. I'm going to put it on, but you're going to see me do this, like I said, into the belly, into the chest, thinking about sending it into your brain. As much air as you can, and then as much air as you can get in, and then just releasing it. You'll likely feel loose in the body, as he says, tingling. You will more than likely get lightheaded. It's not dangerous. Again, I prefer to do this lying down. You can do it sitting up. I feel lying down, I get more in. I can retain my breath for longer, but sitting up is also an option. This isn't something you can do, obviously, if you're driving a car, like while you're working, you have to sit down and actually do this. But anyway. All right, let's go. If I can find the play button here. Hold on. Where are we at? Hello. Wait. Nope, I missed it again. There it is.
Fully in. Letting go. Right on. Fully in. Letting go. Not fully out, just letting go. But fully in. Letting go. And once again. Come on. Don't hesitate. Give it. Deeply in. Letting go. Deeply in. Letting go. You're going great, man. Deeply in. Letting go. Deeply in. Letting go. Deeply in. Letting go. Deeply in. Letting go. It's about changing the chemistry right now in your body. Deeply in. Letting go. Deeply in. Letting go. Nice one. Feels good, huh? Hey. Give it fully. Take him in. Letting go. Take him in. Letting go. Take him in. Letting go. No hesitation. It's about changing the chemistry right now in your body. Ten times more. Deeply in. Letting go. 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 Okay, 5 times more. Deeply in. Letting go. Deeply in. Letting go. Deeply in. Letting go. 2 times more. Letting go and stop. Just stop. Witness. Without air in the lungs, you are able to stay much more than normally. Why? Because we changed your chemistry. Carbon dioxide went out, O2 went up, filled up all the cells, and the pH levels go up. Then we are able to tap into the central nervous system, and at the end we got the brainstem, and that's the place of the pineal gland, hypothalamus, pituitary gland. And the pineal gland makes the secretion of adrenaline in dangerous situations. Normally we do not get into it because of our shallow breathing. But this is the way to get into the most primitive part, the reptilian brain, without many difficulties, and fend off bacteria, getting better into the endocrine systems. In minutes, and you're still on. That shows that the capacity to fill yourself up with oxygen is a lot more than we normally use. And as we do not use it, we are not making a use of the full capacity of our physiology. Now we found out we got a different layers and we never use it. And this is the way to learn to use it, to tap in and bang into the primitive brain, into the endocrine systems, immune systems, the way nature has meant it to be. Everybody is it.
So, that's one round of it. And I can tell you even from that and from doing this, you feel the oxygen kind of flowing. And you might have noticed when I first started on the retention, I took in a little bit of a breath. A lot of times in the last exhalation, so it's, I don't necessarily stop exactly there. Like I'll feel like, oh, there's a little bit too much air in my lungs, so I might let out a little bit or take another couple of small breaths. I will do that just to kind of get myself on an even keel where I feel comfortable to hold it. I think I inhaled at about 1:15. I took that last deep inhalation, and then like I said, you kind of squeeze to your head. I may have retained for longer than 20 seconds. I think I count a little slower than you need to, but anyway, like I said, Wim says 10 to 15 seconds is all you need. So try this out, especially no matter what's going on. If you just want this for general stress relief, but if you are depressed, if you are anxious, I highly recommend this. It's done wonders for me. If you're severely depressed, I understand you may not feel like this, but I would think about it this way. The full practice is to do 4 rounds of that. So if I were to continue doing this, I would do another round of 30 breaths, retain it, go on to the last 2, so a total of 4, and each time you hold it a little longer. Now, again, if you're, whatever it is, you don't have to do the full 4, even if you do 1 round. Again, especially like I'm saying, if you're very depressed and you're like, dude, I'm not I ain't trying to hear this. Like, I don't want to get out of bed, or I'm barely functioning. You must be out of your mind. Just do 1 round. You know, it doesn't matter if you don't take the full 30 breaths. It doesn't matter if you're only able to hold your breath for 20, 30, whatever it is, seconds. You know, do it. Give it a try. Do it for, you know, do 1 session, see how you feel first off. But I would recommend giving it at least 1 session a day for a solid 3 days. And then think about it. I would very much assume that no matter how bad you're feeling, you're going to want to do more because it's going to improve how you feel. Again, that's kind of my hypothesis, but try it out. You know, let me know what you guys think. Also, I think it would be great. Post your own videos doing this and let us know how you feel. And I'm going to call out some friends on this specifically. Moai Apparel, my people at Moai, this is their clothing. I want to see either Chad or Marissa or both of you do a video on this. 1 round is all I'm asking. I'm going to call out Ella Sophia as well. I want to see you do 1 round. Tell me how you feel. I don't know if I'm close enough with anybody else to really try to make them do this. But anyone else who's interested, please try it out, whether you're on Instagram or whatever it is, and if you want to message me here on YouTube, if you want to message me on Facebook, if you know me there. But on Instagram, my name is @OutOfTheShadowsCorvo, all 1 word, just like my channel here. I'll put a link in the description below. I will also put a link to the video I was just using for this guided meditation. So test this one out, guys. You know, this is one of probably the first step-by-step hands-on methods I'm giving you. It's not my method, obviously, but it's a tool that I utilize every day. So give it a try. Let me know what you think. And until later, and as always, my friends, be well. Where's stop?